All right, let's talk about something that trips up pretty much everyone in IT at some point. You look at a Citrix deployment and you have to figure out, is this on-prem or is this cloud? And honestly, it's not always obvious. But by the end of this, I promise you, it will be. We're going to break it all down with a really simple analogy that'll make everything click. Let's do this.
So you walk into a new environment, and this is the first thing that pops into your head, right? Okay, what am I looking at here? But really, that's just the surface. The question you really need to be asking is,
what is the actual difference? And you know what? That's a fantastic question because the lines can seem super blurry. So to clear things up, we got to start at square one and just agree on what we mean when we say a Citrix environment.
Okay, let's just strip away all the technical jargon for a minute. At its core, a Citrix environment is about two really simple things. Where does the stuff live? And who's in charge of taking care of it? To make this super clear, let's use an analogy we can all get our heads around.
I want you to just think of Citrix as a house. Simple as that. And just like any house out there, owning it means there's a list of chores that just have to get done.
And look, it doesn't matter if we're talking about a real house made of bricks and wood or a digital one like Citrix, these four jobs always exist. Somebody's got to build a thing, somebody's got to maintain it, someone has to keep it secure, and yep, somebody's got to fix it when it breaks. And this leads us to the big choice, the fundamental decision you have to make.
And this right here, this simple question, this is the entire difference between on-prem and cloud, boiled down to its essence. Are you going to build that house from the ground up and handle everything yourself, or are you going to rent an apartment where the building management takes care of all the heavy lifting? Let's start with the first option, building your own house.
So, the on-prem model, well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You are the architect, the builder, the landlord, and the repairman for your own house. Everything is built and lives inside your company's own data center, and all of that responsibility, it's on you.
So for a Citrix admin, this means you're doing the whole shebang. You're installing all the core Citrix pieces, you're managing the servers, you're pushing out updates, and yeah, when something goes down at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, guess whose phone is ringing? It's yours. It's a ton of work, so why on earth would anyone choose this? It all boils down to one single powerful word: control. If you're in an industry like finance, healthcare, or government, having absolute control over your data and your hardware isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a non-negotiable requirement. From a money standpoint, this is what we call a capital expenditure, or CapEx model. You buy all the gear up front, it's yours, you own it, and you get to call all the shots.
Okay, so that's building the house. Now let's flip the coin and talk about renting that managed apartment. This is Citrix Cloud. You're still in charge of what happens inside your apartment. Your stuff, your furniture, but the building owner, who in this case is Citrix, they handle the big stuff, like the plumbing, the electricity, and the overall security of the building. But hold on, because there's a huge misconception here we need to tackle right now.
all right, stop. We have to pause here because this is the single biggest point of confusion about Citrix Cloud. Seriously, the name itself is a little misleading. Just because you're using Citrix Cloud to manage things does not mean your apps and desktops are suddenly running in Azure or AWS.
Here's the deal. Citrix Cloud is all about the management layer. Think of it as the remote control for your TV. Citrix, the company, they build, maintain, and update that remote for you. But the TV itself, your actual applications and user desktops, that can still be sitting right in your own on-prem data center. You still get to decide where your workloads live. And financially, this flips the script to an operational expense, an OpEx model. You're paying a subscription for a service instead of buying a mountain of hardware.
And for an admin, this is an absolute game changer. It means you get to spend way less time on the plumbing, all that back-end maintenance and patching, and more time focusing on what the business actually cares about, delivering an awesome experience for your users and making sure their applications work perfectly. You shift from just doing maintenance to driving outcomes.
Okay, so now we get the basic idea behind the two models. Let's put them head to head. And while we're at it, let's just go ahead and bust a huge myth that trips up so many people.
So a quick recap. On-prem, you manage everything. You get total control. Citrix Cloud, Citrix manages that core control layer. You get less grunt work, less maintenance, and you get new features and updates from Citrix way faster. Now, when people hear less maintenance, their brain tends to jump to a conclusion, and it's almost always the wrong one.
They hear that, and they immediately think, oh great, Citrix Cloud means no more admin work for me. I can just put my feet up.
Nope, absolutely not. That could not be more wrong.
The work doesn't vanish into thin air. It just changes. Your responsibilities shift, but trust me, they are very much still there. So let's break down what this actually means for you and your career.
And look, getting this is so important for your career. This isn't just about picking a technology, it's about understanding how your job and your value to the company is evolving. Let me give you one last analogy to really lock this in.
Okay, think about it like this. With On-Prem, you're not just the chef. You have to build the entire restaurant kitchen from scratch. You're laying the pipes, wiring the ovens, fixing the walk-in freezer. You're doing all of that before you can even start thinking about the food.
But with Citrix Cloud, the kitchen is already built. Someone else worries about the ovens and the plumbing. Your job is to be an amazing chef. You get to focus on the food, which are your applications and your users. You're still cooking, you're still managing the service, but you're not fixing the furnace in the basement anymore.
And this is the bottom line for your career. You really need to know both sides of this coin. On-Prem teaches you the fundamentals, how everything actually works under the hood. It's invaluable. But cloud, that's what keeps you relevant. It lets you focus on delivering business value, not just keeping the lights on. The best admins don't run from the cloud. They learn how their role shifts and becomes even more important.
So if you walk away with just one thing today, let it be this. The whole on-prem versus cloud debate, it's not really about where your apps live. It all comes down to one simple question. Who manages what? Is it you or is it Citrix? That's it. That's the whole game.